Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ramon and I'm going to show you some movies again today from my physical media collection. Thank you for watching these videos and liking these videos. I really appreciate it. And today I'm going to start with a couple of DVD box sets. In the early 2000s I saw three movies by the father of American independent cinema, basically John Cassavetes. And I really love those movies. In 2004, I believe, Criterion released a DVD box set, and I bought it right away. This set, five films, John Cassavetes, really cool set, contained the following: a booklet. This was a documentary on the life and art of John Cassavetes, Constant Forge. Also in the set is a debut feature, Shadows, really good one. He did a film noir with Ben Gazzara, The Killing of a Chinese Bookie. With his wife Jenna Rowlands, he did Opening Night. He also did Faces with again Jenna Rowlands, John Marley, and Seymour Cassell. And the fifth movie in the set is A Woman Under the Influence. I think this one is Cassavetes' masterpiece. Very raw and intense drama, filmed in a very realistic and naturalistic style. Stars Jenna Rowlands and Peter Falk, who are superb. And I have to single out Jenna Rowlands because her performance is just in a league of her own. It's just a fantastic performance. One of my five favorite performances ever. And yeah, if you want to try out the cinema of John Cassavetes, make sure you start with this one, Woman Under the Influence, which is just phenomenal. Yeah. And then in 2009, in the Netherlands, they also released a John Cassavetes set containing the same movies. And I did buy it because I could get it cheap 1 year ago. I bought this one. So it's basically the same set containing Shadows, Faces, Woman Under the Influence, Killing of a Chinese Bookie, Opening Night. But instead of the documentary Constant Forge, two other documentaries were added to this box set. Really cool set. Yeah, John Cassavetes, a really fantastic filmmaker. Then a box set containing a couple of movies by Polish director Roman Polanski. First one is The Pianist with Adrian Brody, World War II drama. Film he did in Poland, one of his very first, maybe even his debut feature, A Knife in the Water. Very cool, tight little thriller. This is the psychological horror film Repulsion, starring Catherine Deneuve. With Donald Pleasence, Roman Polanski did Cul-de-sac, a crime thriller. With Marcello Mastroianni, he did the sex comedy What, which is my least favorite of the box set. And Nastasia Kinski in Tess. And really cool black comedy that Roman Polanski did with Hugh Grant and his wife Emanuele Seigner and Peter Coyote, Bitter Moon, really good film. And then there's an extra disc containing 7 short films that a very young Polanski did early in his career. Yeah, a really cool set, I have to say. And it came in this box set. I think one of my first box sets. Then the Godfather trilogy, Blu-ray collection. The Godfather, of course, Francis Ford Coppola. Godfather Part 2. Part 3, which is not as good as the first two films. I think the first two films are real masterpieces, but this one is still very good. And there was a bonus disc with supplements in the set. And I also kept my old Godfather DVD collection. Yep. Then two box sets containing movies that Martin Scorsese did. First box set contains five movies. First one is his debut feature, I guess. Who's That Knocking at My Door with Harvey Keitel. Then my favorite Scorsese, of my favorite of his early films, Mean Streets, the crime drama with Harvey Keitel and Robert De Niro. Alan Burstyn and Chris Christopherson in Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, and Griffin Dunn in After Hours, a really cool black comedy he did in the mid 80s, and the gangster masterpiece Goodfellas. Yeah, I like those box sets. Then another one containing five movies. The first movie is the musical he did, Martin Scorsese, with Liza Minnelli and Robert De Niro, New York, New York. The Last Waltz was a registration of the farewell tour of the band. This is The King of Comedy, starring Robert De Niro and Jerry Lewis. And Raging Bull with Robert De Niro again and Joe Pesci. And David Carradine and John Carradine David Carradine is John Carradine and no, not John Carradine, forgot. Yeah, John Carradine and Barbara Hershey in Boxcar Bertha, which is okay movie. Came in this set, very old American set. Then some Scorsese films on individual separate discs. Goodfellas, of course, and this is the Blu-ray I bought in Germany. This is a separate release of New York, New York. And this is his masterpiece, Taxi Driver, with Robert De Niro, Jodie Foster. His remake of the J. Lee Thompson thriller Cape Fear, again with Robert De Niro. Another rise and fall story, Robert De Niro, Sharon Stone, Joe Pesci in Casino. Costume drama he did with Daniel Day-Lewis and Winona Ryder, The Age of Innocence. With Nicolas Cage, Scorsese did Bringing Out the Dead, not a good one. And with Andrew Garfield and Adam Driver, he did Silence. And then two documentaries I love, two of my favorite documentaries ever. This one was released in 1995, A Personal Journey with Martin Scorsese through American movies. Basically, Scorsese is telling us about his favorite movies from the early birth of cinema up to 1968, I believe, 2001, Kubrick. And yeah, it's a really interesting documentary, really great narrator also, and he shows us movies that were made by Delmer Daves and Phil Carson and Samuel Fuller, Nicholas Ray, King Vidor. Really terrific documentary, 4 hours long. Personal journey with Martin Scorsese through American movies. And then 4 years later, in 1999, he did another one on a classic Italian cinema. So movies by De Sica, Rossellini, Fellini, Visconti, Bertolucci, the classics. And again, very interesting. These two I can watch, once every 2, 3 years and have fun again with those documentaries. I'm not a big documentary guy, but I love documentaries about films. Good documentaries about films. Uh, is there a downside to these two documentaries? Yes, he uses a lot of spoilers because he's really analyzing the movies he loves by using important scenes. And yeah, so approach with caution. Then some movies by Francis Ford Coppola like Dracula, still one of my favorite Dracula adaptations. Keanu Reeves isn't very good in it, but the atmosphere and Gary Oldman and Winona Ryder, really good film. It's a terrific film. This is one he did in between Godfather 1 and 2, The Conversation. I think it's a masterpiece with Gene Hackman. And my favorite Francis Ford Coppola movie is the war movie Apocalypse Now. This is the Redux or the Redux. I do own the original one because I prefer the original one. But that one is my favorite Francis Ford Coppola film. Then some Walter Hill films. This is rather unknown Western Geronimo with Gene Hackman and Robert Duvall. Bruce Willis and Christopher Walken in Last Man Standing, based on Dashiell Hammett's Red Harvest, just like Yojimbo and Fistful of Dollars. Pretty good one. Then the sequel, Another 48 Hours, with Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte. Another Walter Hill film I love, The Warriors. This, sadly, is the director's cut. I didn't like the changes, to be honest. Luckily, I also own the original version on DVD. And this is The Driver with Ryan O'Neal, Bruce Dern, Isabella Gianni. Terrific Walter Hill crime film. This is the 1976 version of King Kong by John Gillerman with Jeff Bridges and Jessica Lange. Really good one. And this is the original macaroni combat film, The Inglorious Bastards by Enzo Castellari, starring Bo Svensson and Fred Williamson. And I also own a Dutch copy. As you can see on the spine, it was released here as the Real Inglorious Bastards, just to avoid confusion with the Tarantino movie, I believe. Uh, Jaws Part 2 is a pretty good sequel, I have to say. And then three movies by the great French director Louis Malle. This is Vanya on 42nd Street, basically a film about a rehearsal of the Chekhov play Uncle Vanya, and stars Julianne Moore and Wallace Shawn. Very well acted movie. This is the World War II story La Combe Lucienne by Louis Malle. And this is one of my favorite movies of all time, Maurice Ronet in The Fire Within, Feu Follet. And the music is provided by Eric Satie. And this movie, every time I watch this movie, it affects me deeply. And The Fire Within. Then a silly comedy based on Casino Royale, Ian Fleming, I think it is, with David Niven and Gene Wilder, Peter Sellers, etc., Woody Allen, Casino Royale. This is John Borman's Hell in the Pacific with Lee Marvin and Toshiro Mifune. And then three films by Norman Jewison. This is The Hurricane with Denzel Washington as Reuben Carter. This is In the Heat of the Night with Sidney Poitier and Rod Steiger. Terrific. And the original and the version I prefer of the Thomas Crown Affair, Steve McQueen and Faye Dunaway. This is a US DVD, I believe, of George Romero's classic 90 Night of the Living Dead. I also own a Dutch special edition. This is a fantasy adventure film by Richard Fleischer, Fantastic Voyage, with Raquel Welch and Stephen Boyd. And this is a tragedy originally by Euripides, Electra, starring Irene Papas and directed by the guy who 3 years or a few years later he would do Zorba the Greek with Anthony Quinn. Pretty good one, this tragedy. This is one I loved as a kid, the sci-fi movie Silent Running with Bruce Dern, directed by Douglas Trumbull. And this is another adaptation of the Raymond Chandler novel, Farewell, My Lovely, directed by Dick Richards, starring Robert Mitchum. Sylvester Stallone is also in this one. Really good 70s noir, but the first adaptation by I think it was Edward Dmytryk in 44 with Dick Powell as Philip Marlowe, Murder My Sweet. That is like my favorite film noir of all time. But this one still is really good. Then a film, one of my favorite performances by Harvey Keitel in this crime drama, Fingers by James Toback. And this is Earthquake, disaster movie, cool one. Then some Jackie Chan films. This is Mr. Nice Guy, directed by Sammo Hung. Who Am I? Benny Chan and Jackie Chan, partially shot over here in the Netherlands, in Rotterdam. This is gorgeous. Jackie Chan, Tony Leung, and Shu Qi. And Jackie Chan directed this one, Operation Condor, Armor of God Part 2. Then David Lai did this cool martial arts film, Operation Scorpio, aka The Scorpion King. And this is a gory live action adaptation of a Japanese manga, the story of Rikyo. This is a spiritual sequel to Jun Woo Ping's own Tai Chi Master with Jet Li. This is the Tai Chi boxer. I love Jun Woo Ping. Jun Woo Ping also did this terrific martial arts film with Michelle Yeoh and Donnie Yen Wing Chun. This is a documentary that Hong Kong Legends provided, and they added the film in this two-discer, Gen X Cops. Not a very good film, directed by Benny Chan, and Karl Maka and Sammo Hung star in the martial arts comedy Skinny Tiger, Fatty Dragon. This is one of my favorite Hong Kong films ever. Chungking Express by Wong Kar-wai with Fei Wong and Tony Leung. And this is one of my favorite. This is my favorite action film of all time. A couple of releases that I own. John Woo film, of course, best action film ever made, 92. Chow Yun-fat, Tony Leung, Anthony Wong. This is the original Tartan DVD from the UK, and then they did a sort of upgrade that I also own. Then they released, in the Netherlands, they released the film under the Asia Mania label, but I also own two exact copies of that one. Yeah, you never can have enough hard-boiled in your collection. I also own the Dragon Dynasty US DVD and this bootleg provided by Hong Kong Rescue. This is the Blu-ray. Then continuing with cool new noir starring Gene Hackman and Paul Newman, Susan Sarandon, and Reese Witherspoon, Twilight. Terrific film by David Fincher, Seven. Nasty horror thriller by Spanish director Amenabar, Thesis. And this is the action comedy Mo Money with Damon Wayans, Neve Campbell, and Denise Richards. Bill Murray is also in it in Wild Things, another movie that I like, and I also own Dutch DVD. This is The Hotspot, neo-noir directed by Dennis Hopper, and a video game adaptation, Mortal Kombat. Last pile, fantasy adventure film Escape to Witch Mountain with Eddie Albert and Ray Milland and this little girl Kim Richards. And maybe you know Kim Richards because she was in a very controversial scene in this terrific John Carpenter classic Assault on Precinct 13. Another favorite Carpenter film of mine is Halloween, the famous slasher. This is Carpenter's Escape from LA sequel. Vampires with James Woods. Ghosts of Mars, not a very good one. I think the last really great one that Carpenter did was this horror film from the mid-90s, In the Mouth of Madness. This is my favorite Lord of the Rings adaptation, Ralph Bakshi's The Lord of the Rings and 70s. And this is a horror film by Wes Craven. Last House on the Left, believe it or not, based on an Ingmar Bergman drama, uh, The Virgin Spring. This one scared me as a kid. Wes Craven's The People Under the Stairs. This is The Man in the Iron Mask with Leo. I own A Man in Black and Man in Black Part 2, Barry Sonneveld. Uh, Not a very good film, Spawn. Terrific basketball drama by William Friedkin with Nick Nolte and Shaquille O'Neal and Penny Hardaway. I was a big NBA fan back in the day. Blue Chips. Urban crime drama Menace to Society, the Hughes brothers, and then some Dolph Lundgren films, Dolph Lundgren and Matthias Hughes in Dark Angel, I Come in Peace, the terrific short action movie Showdown in Little Tokyo with Brandon Lee, with Louis Gossett Jr. He did Cover Up, and Louis Gossett also starred in some other films like Toy Soldiers with Sean Astin, uh, Midnight Sting with James Woods, terrific boxing comedy, and last but not least, Iron Eagle Part 3 Aces, also starring Sonny Chiba. Thanks for watching, guys. Whew, just made it. Yeah, join me next time. Goodbye.